can I decide what's right when you're clouding up my mind? I can win your losing fight all the time. Not gonna ever run what's mine when you're always taking sides, but you won't take away my pride. No, not this time. Not this time. How did we get here when I used to know you so well? And how did we get here? Well, I think I know. The truth is hiding in your eyes, and it's hanging on your tongue, just boiling in my blood. But you think that I can't see what kind of man that you are. If you're a man at all, well, I'll figure this one out on my own. On my own. How did we get here when I used to know you so well? Yeah, and how did we get here? Well, I think I know. Do you see what we've done? We kinda make such fools of ourselves. Do you see what we've done? We kinda make such fools of ourselves. How did we get here when I used to know you so well? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And how did we get here when I used to know you so well? I think I know. I think I know. Ooh, there is something I see in you. It might kill me. I want it to be true.
Hello everybody, welcome back once more to this, your comfortable workshop, where we make a lot of different things, puppets, animation, all sorts of things. And well, in case you're new and you haven't been here before, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm gonna redo the hair of the evil Neuro puppet I made for her birthday in March 25th. It's this puppet, this head I have right here. Oop. And we are going to try to make her a new wig. But instead of having one solid piece of silicone for the whole hairpiece, we are trying to make a new hair made out of individual strands for independent, for animating them separately. And well, last time we were working on the first part of the mold for the hair strand, and also we casted a new head for the new hair strands to be positioned in. So I think what we can start with today is opening up the mold we made last session. So last time we casted this mold with some resin and putting some magnets inside of the resin casting so it will stick everything in place, whichever special pieces needs to be stuck. And let's see if the casting we did stayed in place, or at least if the magnets are still in the place. I wouldn't think that the resin did anything weird. Oh, looks like the mold broke a bit, the outer shell. There's just a bit of plaster there. It's not that big of a deal, but should have been more careful when opening it. So, yeah. When you take off the hard shells, you have this small silicone sandwich, and inside of this should be our casting of Evil's head. Let's see, how did it go? Hey, it looks great. Alright, so here, can you see it? I might make a little bit more of a zoom in so you can see. There we go. Alright. So here you can see the head, and everything looks very well placed. Look at those eyes. You can perfectly see the circle in the bottom. You can even see the shininess of the metal, just how close the magnet was to the surface, and I think that's great. I think that it will work perfectly. So you have this big extra resin that was just everything that's stayed in the mold as an excess. I'm not sure if we can just break this off. It's a little bit hard. No, there we go. You can just break it up, and there you have it. So the head, I really like how it went out. It looks really clean, doesn't have any particular bumps. The only mistake I can see is there is a very tiny bubble here in the center of the eyes. I mean, it's probably some oversight of when I was casting it, but it really will not affect anything. It's not going to be visible once the faces are on, and yeah, it's just a tiny slip up that can be fixed later on. And well, no, it doesn't need to be fixed. It just has, yeah, it can just stay there. But next time I cast one of these, I might be a little bit more careful and try to get that very, very tiny bubble of air inside well covered before closing the mold. But everything else looks great. So you have a bit of an edge because of how the mold works, but I can sand this off later. And I want to see how well the magnets do here. So first we have the magnets on the top, which are made for the brow. This brow has a little bit of magnetic powder inside, and this should stay in place once I put it in here. So let's give it a try. I do feel like it's giving a bit of a pull, and if I put it horizontally, there, it's not falling. Feels like the magnets are doing its work. Okay, it kind of falls after, making it very, very steep, but probably that won't be a problem when animating. I can just reinforce this with a little bit of something sticky. Mostly I use a lot of Prit Tack, or we can use a little bit of like one tiny drop of glue. Any sort of soft silicone like glue will stay in place, it will help keep it in place, but this is just enough so she can be animated and moved around and the face will not fall that easily. It does fall, but it takes a while. Now what I'm really curious about is the eyes. Let's see if having the magnet at the bottom of the eye will make the eyes easier to roll around and move. I really like how this feels. It's much easier. There's a lot less friction. This eye in particular, this isn't to the eye I used in the animation. For two reasons. One of them is that there is this bubble inside of the eye. You might be able to see it all the way from over there. Maybe I can go a little closer. Let's see. Ah, there. Can you see that bubble inside? I don't want that tiny bubble. Whenever you have weird things in the eye, it can be very, very distracting because, yeah, it's not... We're very used to reading faces and reading eyes, and usually it's really unsettling when something weird is going on with the eye, and well, this one has a huge bubble inside it. So I didn't use it, but also something I remember about this eye is that this one was particularly very hard to roll inside the socket. And now it's rolling kinda easily enough. There's still a bit of a friction here and there, but it's much easier than before. So I'm confident that now the real eyes, the ones that made it to the final cut, will work much better in here. And it feels much more perfect, like having those magnets right there in the center. It feels so much cleaner. It was a little bit more of a struggle to put them in and to cast the mold, but I think it's really worth the effort. So yeah, I'm really happy with how this turned out. So we'll keep working on this head. You will be seeing more of it in future streams, but I think for now that's about all we can do with it. So yeah, let's leave this aside for later. Okay, next I want to work on what we left off. Oh, just let me close the mold before, just so it can be left aside. Don't bother. All right. So last time we left. I'm gonna zoom out the camera a bit because it's quite bigger than the head. Okay. Last time we left off with the mold of the strand of the hair. If you remember it, we were just putting the first strand and we were smoothing down the surface of the green elementary school plasticine. And yeah, I was just getting started, but now after a while I have been able to really smooth it out. Yeah, I think you can see it properly somewhere around here. So you can see the surface is more even. I just spent some time passing the tool again and again to smooth it out. And then I took the large blob and I cut the edges. So I have a nice clean shape for my mold to be in. And also I added all these tiny keys. So these little trapezoid pieces work as keys for the final mold. When I put the plaster in, these are gonna have a negative and a positive print between each other, each piece of the mold. And those pieces are gonna make sure that whenever I close the mold, it closes exactly where it needs to close. And it doesn't slide to one side or the other, and then the piece in the mold shape inside will just stay clean on its form. So I really like how it turned out. I feel like it's looking great. And right now, well, I wanted to, I just left it here so I could show it to you and talk about how it was made and why I did everything I did. But now I think we can start working on the final steps to get the first piece of the mold done, which will be just adding some walls to every one of the edges of this mold. And with that, we're going to be able to cast inside all the plaster and have it stay in there. So I already cut some pieces of this plastic. And all we need to do is glue it in all the edges so it stays there, and then just make sure that all the edges of the plasticine themselves is spread all the way to the edge of the wall of the mold. So yeah, let's do that now. I'm just gonna put a little bit of this hot glue. See it? This is just regular hot glue gun. And I just put it all over the edge and then I'm gonna glue it. You need to be a little bit fast with this because, well, it starts cooling down and you want everything to be nice and hot when you push the piece of plastic onto the base. Right, there we go. I think this was not the best idea because I feel like now you won't be able to see anything. So yeah, that's fun. You can't see anything, but I can just turn this around. Just give me a second so it cools down, stays in place, and I'll rotate this and you'll be able to see a little bit more. So yeah, just adding these walls one after the other. It's not that much of a big deal. Another thing I want to do right now, especially before I close all the other edges of the mold, is I'm gonna make a little line to mark where I want all the plaster to go up to. I want this mold to be 4 centimeters tall in total, and to get those 4 centimeters tall, I'm just gonna have to make each half 2 centimeters tall. So I'm gonna put a little mark on the wall so I can follow and see whenever I reach that line once I start pouring the plaster of my mold. I did have a Sharpie lying around here. All right. So I'm just gonna make a little mark of whenever the mold reaches 2 centimeters. So it's not exactly 2 centimeters. I can't go just 1, 2 from top to bottom because the clay itself already has a little bit of an extra distance, but I can just vaguely measure it this way and make the mark by myself. So I must go somewhere around 28.3, which is here. So down here too. There we have it. So that's the line I'm going to be following. Tiny line over there. And make it a little bit longer. And now I know whenever I cast, I want to reach that line and no further. Right, so I'll put the cap on this once again. And I'll take advantage of this side now that you can see most of the back of the mold, and yeah, just finish closing this up.
You do, I'll stand. isn't up to you today. It hasn't always been this way. I've got a lot to prove.
It's a bit too long.
I'll stay today. This way today.
Even if you let me go,
I'll stay
I want to hold you close.
today.
I want to keep feeling.
This way.
I might have to put
I want to keep
a lot of
loving.
plastic in order for it to stick to the edge of the mold.
This isn't up
Remember,
to you.
mold
Hasn't always been this
a little.
I've got a lot to prove today.
Patch that up using some more plastic. And over here, you can just close this other side. So after our last stream, I saw that what I thought impossible happened, and Gorgura announced her graduation very soon, the first day of May, I believe, and it's very stunning, I must say. I did not expect that. And she's hands down the most popular VTuber out there, and seems like now she's just gonna be leaving very soon. Well, let's hope it's for the best. And she stays fine. Well, we'll see what happens from here until May 1st. By the way, once again, I'm very sorry for the delay we're having. This time it wasn't... Should have removed the edge. Let me see if I can... Jeez. I'm just gonna have to remove that extra bit plastic so it really fits the mold. Okay. I'm gonna try to close this, and then I'll show you how to... Well, I'll have to close the edges with some sculpting tools, and then I can show you how to cast the material inside the... This should be more... should fit better into the mold. And also, after putting this, I'm gonna reinforce all the empty spaces between each wall. So I don't want the material to be pouring out everywhere on the sides of the wall. So yeah, just an extra layer of glue between every wall. There you go. There's two.
I got a lot to say to you. Yeah, I got a lot to say. I noticed your eyes are always glued to me, keeping them here, and it makes no sense at all. They taped over your mouth, scribbled out the truth with their lies, your little spies. They taped over your mouth, scribbled out the truth with their lies, your little spies. Crush. 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 Nothing compares to a quiet evening alone, just the one, two. I was just counting on that never happens. I guess I'm dreaming again. Let's be more than this. If you wanna play it like a game, well, come on, let's play. 'Cause I'd rather waste my life pretending than have to forget you for one whole minute. They taped over your
I think that will be enough.
mouth, the truth with their lies,
Maybe
your
a little bit more on this edge. We're good to go.
your mouth, scribbled out the truth with their
That should seal all the
eyes.
different possible holes this will have. And now I'm just gonna carefully seal the edge of the mold so there isn't any leak on the side of itself. Using that simple sculpting tool. Some others around here that will. All right. This might be a little bit hard for you to see, but just gonna, yeah, it's, I think you'll have to trust me on this one. I'm just gonna close all the edges into the outer wall, just so the material doesn't flow inside, make like, if it falls, it's gonna make sort of an outer shell, which it's not impossible to remove, but it's way harder to remove once it's dry, because this type of plaster is very, very hard. So I'm gonna try to reduce those problems as much as possible before they really become a problem. Huh. Seems like my chat is offline. I'm not sure if anyone has sent any comments, but I don't seem to be able to see any message. Let's see, I'll send something myself just to make sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I hope there's not some sort of connection issue coming on here, but if you have been sending comments and it isn't going through, it might be my YouTube connection, because I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I had only the like favorite chat on or something, and I think it was only filtering super chats, which I do not have enabled because this channel is very small. So yeah, now I can see the comments. Hi everyone. I'm so sorry for not replying before. I was really thinking this place was completely empty. But turns out there's people here. Hey, how are you? How are you doing? Let me see. I'm gonna go back to see how everyone's doing. Alright, mostly hellos. Glad to see. Wow, there's more people here than I honestly expected. I'm very happy about that. Hello, sorry for not replying before. I'm here now. I can see your comments now. And yeah, this has made my evening a lot happier. Alright. So Yeah, you will have to trust me on this one because it's very hard for me to show it on the camera, but I'm just grabbing all the clay that was on the edges of the mold, just pushing it to the side to make sure that it's well closed on the edge and to not have the plaster flow down into the edges. So here in the back is the biggest gap, the one I told you a second back, because of the small bump the wire left. There's a big gap for me to fill back here. Again, it's not a big deal. Got a max precision. Yeah, I think I use more precision in the animation part of the process than when it gets hard. And this is more a patience part, but not that hard. But yeah, also having the wall helps a lot. I just have to push it gently against it and it will take shape sooner or later. It's not really that big of a deal. Huh. Hello, Alisa Uteko. How it's going? Well, it's going alright. I'm just finishing some final details on this piece before casting the plaster inside the mold. It's pretty it's simple enough. It's not a big of a deal. But I'm glad you're here. Now I'm hoping this mold doesn't end up being too fragile once it's cast. That's why I want to make it slightly thicker than it probably should. It's gonna be 2 centimeters thick each side, which I think is thick enough for the mold not to break so easily. Because this mold I'm gonna cast many times, right? Every strand. I believe I've been thinking about it, and I think I'm gonna need at least 10 different slat casts. How did I find Neuro? Asks Roman Son. I found Neuro. I think I started seeing some. Well, my YouTube feed started sharing with me a bunch of random Fillion clips, and then after falling a little bit into that rabbit hole of Fillion, I found this funny video where she was being tased by some weird AI anime thing, and I found it really fun and started to get to know a bit more about Neuro, about Evil, about terrible birthday she had last year. I think then the subathon came, I saw some of it. I thought it was really fun. I found it very interesting that there was so much people behind it, so a lot of people loved it, and I really like the idea of a very yeah, getting taste. Yeah, that was the one that helped me get into the Neuroverse. I don't know, it's just a funny coincidence, I guess, but yeah, that's how I got into it. But I really like the idea, and I saw not most of the subathon, but I did see a lot of the subathon and how it went, and I just really liked, I don't know, it's really funny how they act in such random ways. They can be either very wholesome or incredibly rude. Filipino Boy Suffering classic, yes, really a classic. And well, I had been wanting to start testing new processes for animation, especially the eyes. I wanted to try to make this very realistic anime eyes with three-dimensionality and using transparent resin, and I really wanted to just make a test with a puppet. And once I found Neuro, I thought, hey, this is really fun. And I was in this mindset of, I want to try making a puppet, but I'm terrible at character design. So I said, hey, maybe I can find a 3D model of this Neuro girl, and I can start testing out those skills and maybe make perfect the technique for making all these rotating inside the skull eyes. And I found a Neuro model online, I think on Sketchfab. I think you might find the link in the description of the original video if you want to see it. And I started working on it, and while I was at it, I remembered, or I saw, I'm not sure what came first, but I saw that that Evil's birthday was coming on March 25th. And I was starting to work on the 3D model for printing in January. And I thought, hey, maybe I might have enough time to finish it before Evil Neuro's birthday. So instead of making regular Neuro, I started working on Evil itself. And yeah, that was my deadline. It really helped me because it pushed me to make things faster. I had to have everything ready in 3 months, which it's not a very tight time frame, but it was a little bit tight because there was a lot of research and development involved. I was trying different techniques, different materials. I had no idea if these eyeballs were going to work or not. And well, in the end it worked. And yeah, that's how it became, well, that's all the things that led for it to become Evil Neuro. But I would also like to, I mean, it's pretty much the same mold. So once I get the hang of it, I'm really thinking about making regular Neuro too. I just want to finish figuring out these details and having the best way to make the hairline, the animations. And yeah, making the twin will not be as hard as starting from scratch with another character. But yeah, first I wanna figure out all these tiny details. Alright, I think it's... there's a little spot back here. Right. I think it's about done. As you might see, you will see a bunch of bumps and hits around there that I made with the tool, but the important thing is that there's no gap between the plastic and the plasticine, the green one. So I think this is ready and set for casting it. So I'm gonna be casting, and before that, this plaster can be a really big mess. It's very liquid, so if you have if something goes wrong, it can just expand everywhere. Filian's early collab with Hiyori. I've never seen a Filian collab with Hiyori. I've only seen the new stuff. Let me see the full comment. Definitely what grabbed my attention, Neuro's capability of personality. I might search for it later and see how they interacted back then. I mean, I know about the previous design Neuro had, but I think I've only seen a couple of very short clips of that and it's mostly like those look how far it's come clips from that to modern Neuro. But I think it will be fun to see how she behaved back in the old days. All right, so I'm gonna put this a little tray just so if there's any leakage of plaster, it won't go very far, won't fall into the ground, which is a complete disaster. And there it is. So here's the mold. I'm not gonna be able to see the full bottom, but you can figure it out. I might turn this around so you can see the line. Yeah, maybe at least you can see, barely. You can see the line over there. That's the edge where the mold to reach. And we're ready to cast this. So I'm gonna be casting in this bowl with some of my powder and got some water over here. Not sure how much material this will need because it's not really big, but it's also very long. Just getting the plaster ready. Wait for me. Also, when working with this plaster, you have to be careful not to get... So I have this big container with it because I buy full sacks of the thing, and you don't want any water to reach the container, like the big container, because it can react with all the batch, and you don't want that. You just want the reaction to stay on the little container you're gonna make it in. So I keep the full container very far away from all the water that I'm gonna pour on the final mold. And I'm just gonna grab it with a cup. Hopefully this will be enough. Right. I'm gonna try to show it to the camera. I might. Alright, I'll give this a shot. I'm gonna move mold out of frame so you can see the mixing and all that stuff. Then I'll show you. Bring back the mold once it's fixed. I'm just gonna. There were a couple of residues here. I've used this bowl for this kind of ultracal mixing for a long time. I think it's been like 3 or 5 years, and it's really worked very nicely. Something that's very important also when you're working with this kind of plaster. Sorry, I'm back. Welcome back, Alisa Hatsuko. So I'm gonna cast this. That'll be enough. Something very important when you're casting with this plaster is to keep the material, well, no, to keep the containers clean. So you have to be very thorough and clean them properly after you finish the mold. If you don't, you might just ruin your container forever. All right. Out of constant, it looks like a cooking stream. Yeah, it does look like a cooking stream. You know, there are a lot of steps that are very similar to cooking in this, like figuring out how much you need of each material, how long it will take. Sometimes there is heat involved. I didn't tell you, but the resin from the last head we casted, it does heat up a lot, and it can burn you. In fact, like sometimes I grab the mold once it's been just sitting there for a while. I'm gonna be needing more plaster. It's too much water. I don't really want to have a lot of excess plaster either. Alright, I'm gonna go get a little bit more of plaster and be right back. You see, it's very... So I'm using my hands just to make sure there are no small lumps of plaster inside. So I'm gonna get a little bit more of the plaster and be right back, just to make sure it's enough. Just a little bit more. You do want it to be very liquid, almost run like water, slightly less, well, slightly thicker than water, but you will still want it to flow freely everywhere in order to fill all the gaps in your mold. It's also not that important because this mold is very simple. I'm not sure if it really needs to be very runny, but it's how I'm used to make this. So the gloves are certainly, yeah, the gloves are very needed in many parts of the steps, and this one is not the exception. I mean, you can use a stick. There are also people who use I've seen like the best thing to use for this is to use a drill, because it will mix very fast and remove all the air bubbles, and I think that's probably the best way to go. But mostly when you're making more complex molds, bigger mold, you need to mix a lot of material. This has worked fine for me with like this, simply using my hand. What is your favorite Neuro cover? I think it's most likely What Does the Fox Say by Evil. It just makes me laugh every time I hear it. Weren't vibrating a bit? Maybe, but it could. I mean, if you're using one of those like vibrating whisks for cappuccino, I think it won't be useful after a couple of molds. So, or you mean just like vibrating with my hand? I'll let him cook. It's fine. I like chatting while I'm doing this. I've seen that there are some vibrating tables. There are some... There was another tool I was thinking about, but I don't remember now. Right, I'm just gonna be... Oh, you're seeing this, right? Kind of seeing it. Yeah. There you... I cannot tilt this time because, well, it's just like water, so... It's not go. But you can see the line, hopefully. Not, maybe I can turn it like this. Yeah, you see the line there. And there we go, we reach our limit. So important, whenever you clean this. Oh, we have a leak. You see it over there? There's a tiny leak. And just as I told you last time, crazy stuff will happen when you're doing this, and you have to be ready and not freak out. So yeah, I've had, I think the first mold I made with this style, it was in school. It was a very big mold. I think, imagine this, but in the shape of a square, like this length, but a full square, and like 9 centimeters tall, I remember the number. And when I did that, the pressure of the plaster, or of the liquid, it just pushed one wall up, and it broke, and it just went everywhere and I had to repeat that mold from scratch. So this kind of tiny leaks, it's not a big deal. Should have been more careful with the glue gun maybe, but it's fine. We are still okay, and I'm just gonna add a little bit more just to make sure we make up for whatever material was lost in that tiny leak. And yep, this is fine. You know, I think I know what's going on. The leaks are not coming from the corners, but instead they're leaking through the horizontal holes that are inside the mold. Because this plastic, it's like cardboard, it's got a lot of holes on the edges. So yeah, I did not address it, but there was a little bit more of a leak over there. The liquid must be heavier than it looks. Well, yes, it's plaster. So from under. No, it was coming out from between. So what I think was going on, you can see the material was coming down and just going through the edges of the cardboard because it's going horizontally and then flowing back out. And the leak could have been in the middle somewhere, and it went all the way to the other side and then leaked from that side, only in the side that's pointing to me right now. Yeah, it seems like everything's in place now, and we can just wait for it. So yeah, this will take a while to dry, somewhere around 4 hours I think. It will heat up also, just like the resin does. Doesn't heat as much as the resin, but it does heat enough to make it unpleasant. You wouldn't like to put your hand on top of one of these that's still reacting. Tricky leak cannot trick you. Well, I've had enough problems to know how to deal with this and to solve it on the fly. Also, if it did break, that wouldn't have been a big of a deal. I would just have to restart the mold, which wouldn't be my first time. But yes. So, just pro tip, always clean properly your containers if you don't want small rock pieces attached to all their sides. It's pretty easy to clean up. You just have to. So I have an extra container here where I'm putting all the excess. So I just clean it with some water, drop the excess, and then I'll add a little bit more of water into. Just noticed I'm quite early to this stream. I'm not sure if you're quite early. I started late, but maybe I'm not quite sure if I put the time zones right, but I believe, well, the intention was to start at 6 p.m. PT, Pacific time. Well, yeah. But well, you just add a little bit more water, and with the fresh water, it's really easy to clean up the excess material. You can see now it's almost perfectly clean. Now, this will harden, so you don't want to drop it on the drain. You just leave it on the extra container and it will dry after a while into sort of a solid coin of all the excess. And that coin you can throw out wherever. It's just a piece of rock now. But you don't want to throw all of this. Did you solve TOTS? Not really. Well, I'm not sure, it's kind of vague. I had a couple of classes in college, but they were very, very basic. However, I did learn what materials to use, where to buy them, some of the basics. But then I started working on a big studio, and there I learned most of what I know, different brands of materials. I started working more into, well, bigger productions. However, after I started working in the workshop, but then I ended up moving into animation. So I was more of a full-time animator. I stopped working with all the materials and the fun stuff, and I was exclusively an animator for a very long time. But I still missed working with things and building things from scratch. So in my spare time, whenever I had some, I would make a couple of little puppets or tests or castings. I tried new materials. I was really into figuring out how to use the resin 3D printing. Right now I'm learning how to use. It's really fun. Stop motion animation is really fun, Roman. It takes a lot of time, but it's very entertaining. And there are so many things to do in it. I mean, you can focus on one very specific role and do that as a full-time job for the rest of your life, or you can go and do almost everything by yourself and figure out how to do it. There's all sorts of people in the industry working in different ways, and I really love that. There's no right way of making stop motion. There's just different ways to get a nice end result. But yeah, it's really fun. I really hope we make it into animation streams soon. I think that's when I'll be able to teach you a lot of very neat tips and tricks, show you how to use the software. But I feel like I can show you a lot of stuff also just with this materials. Even if it's not my specialty, I feel like I have enough knowledge to show how it's done, share it, talk about it, and yeah, hopefully make it a fun time for you who are watching. So yeah, now you can see this is clean-ish. I'm just gonna use some water to clean the outer edges. So you know a lot. I didn't know before. I don't know the second one, but maybe if I saw an animation I might know him. But I saw Moonshine because someone commented. It might have been you, I don't know. Someone commented that they wanted Moonshine to animate Neuro, and then I started looking at Moonshine and I really like what he does. It's very interesting, very fun, and for what I see, he uses sort of modified action figures or anime figures, sort of like. Punch-Shot is so good. I'll give it a look. The one I know, which is really, really good at animating specifically, is Hannibal Saikaku. He makes this short animations with very complex puppets. Well, not puppets, very complex dolls, figures like NECA, from some of the... There are some cool animations with Ryu from Street Fighter and Chun-Li, because those dolls are very, very well articulated. He also does a lot of very tiny special effects and tricks, and some smoke made with cotton or shock waves made with some lighting effects. I really love his work. I'm not sure if he maybe has another name in YouTube, because I think Hannibal Saikaku is his tag in Instagram. I don't know. You can search him up. His profile picture is this sort of circus tent. I really like his animation. I really like his work. He does very, very organic things. Who else have I seen online making stop motion animation? I have seen a lot of different channels, but I'm not sure if I know How do you write it? Write animation? I'm not sure what you mean, Roman. Oh, how do you write Hannibal Psycho? Like Hannibal Lecter? And then I'll type it in the chat. Just give me a second because my gloves are full with plaster. Yeah. But give me 1 second. I'll just take this off. I believe it's written like that or something like that. How long are you planning on working on stream today? I don't know. I think I'm looking to make streams around 2 hours per session. I'm not sure because sometimes I feel like if I split it a lot, it's gonna be very slow to make progress. But also I don't want to make this too long or to maybe become boring. I'm not sure how long do you feel comfortable with watching me ramble and work around. Right now, pretty much everything I had planned for tonight was casting this guy, taking out the head, and the final step I wanted to do today, but I just want to finish picking up all the plaster before, is preparing the colored silicone for the head. Sound like the name of a guy. He's really good. He's a great animator. But yeah, I just want to finish picking up all the plaster stuff, the raw water, the excess, put the extra plaster I did not use back in the container. And yeah, what I wanted to do, the last task I had planned for today is to start mixing the color of the silicone for our final hair strand. So I will go for another pair of gloves because these ones are full with powder. Guessing on the YouTube channel name is Animist? Maybe? I'm not sure. I remember that he had different names in different platforms. I think Hannibal Psycho is his name in Instagram. But his profile picture is this small, can you see? Like that, like a circus tent in red. He makes this very short animations, short but sweet, and they're really top quality. That's what came out searching. I don't know, I'm not searching anything right now because between my hands being full with crazy things and the computer being a bit far away, I haven't. But maybe someone else can find it and put it here. Yeah, the same. Yeah, he is just great animation. And he does a lot of fun stuff with little things. There was this animation he made, I think it was Ryu punching a can of soda. And the animation he did for the can when it was crinkling, it was very similar to whenever you fight the car, well, you try to break the car in Street Fighter 2. But so he respected the way the physics works in the game, not how the physics work in the real life. So the can will just shake slightly until it would bend into a more crinkled version, and then it will shake a little bit more. It was so much attention to detail he makes. I love it. I love his work. I'm not sure if he's published a lot lately. I feel like I haven't seen anything new from him in a while. Maybe he's taking a break. I remember he had some sponsorships by some particular dolls, like those bony bodycoons. It wasn't bodycoon, it was another brand, but he had this sponsorship with a doll that made specifically like a big hand with very complex articulations, and I remember him animating the hand, just moving the fingers, and yeah, it was really fun. Right, so what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna take this whole tray somewhere else, and we can focus on preparing the silicone. Da, 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 da. I really like his Kirby animations. Ah, yeah. I remember some good Kirby animations. And also he plays with the whole swallowing of things. Really creative ways. He's really good at tricks, making this small, tiny magic tricks on screen. And he has another one of a tiny shark also eating things. And that one's really good. All right, so here's silicone, some silicone. Oh, yeah, I didn't get to see if anyone... So I'm not sure how comfortable would you be with longer streams, or if you like the streams being around 2 hours in general. Right now, the only thing I have planned for today is finishing this because, well, the next step of the other mold is gonna have to wait until it's done hardening. But yeah, if you have any thoughts on that, on the length of the stream, you can send me a message and I'll take it into account for whenever I start preparing the next stream. Maybe I can put more steps into the mix. Well, I'll just wait if you wanted to comment on that, on the note. All right, so here's the silicone. This is just simple old white silicone I have lying around. It's kind of a local brand, but it gets the job done. It's really good and it's easy to get around here. This silicone is specifically made for making molds, not for casting inside them. Around 2 hours is fine, says. Okay, how long is it? You'll say, yeah, I have it saved, and you can catch up anytime. There was a little bit of small something floating inside the silicone. I just took it out. So this is around 200 grams. I put them in this container earlier. I hope this is enough for all the hair. I think it's gonna be around, I don't know, 14, hopefully not more than 30 strands of hair. So I think, hopefully, this 200 grams of silicone will be enough. And I'm just gonna start adding some oil paints to try to match the color of, well, the new color of Evil's hair. So there are some special pigments sometimes for silicone, but I don't know why specifically brown is such a big problem whenever you are trying to... All right, Dolphin, you make a very good point with it, that it's not as intimidating when you have a shorter stream. So yeah, maybe we can try to keep... I can animate Evil Ball. I think it did happen recently in a stream or something, right? Oh no, there was this fan art, right? Where she saw herself bald and she freaked out. I could animate that, and that would save me a lot of trouble. I think what we can make is then keep our workshop streams in the shorter end, like this 2 hours, and maybe the animation streams, which will be more rare occasions because there's a lot of more preparations to do. They can be a little bit longer, and then we can maybe pump out more frames of animations from the session. Oh, you saw it on live? I just saw the clip in YouTube Shorts, but it was really funny. Sometimes I feel like Evil has this crazy, like very realistic reactions, which are kind of scary sometimes. Like when there was one with Coconuts when she was scared by a creeper and she just freaked out and screamed, and it felt almost like a real person. Alright, so as I was telling you, I don't know why brown is such a big struggle whenever you're painting silicone. I'm not sure if it's this particular brand of silicone or if it is the pigments they sell when they sell me the silicone. And it's happening here a little bit, but less than with the original official pigment, that it gets this sort of a purplish hue. Can you see it? It's weird because it's just you just have brown onto a white substance and it turns out somehow purple. I mean, I'm not sure if it's something to do with the pigments inside the paint itself or how it's composed, but it always gives me this uncanny. Well, I don't like the color, it feels fake, and I struggle a lot to get it to look more like an authentic brown color. If you was trying to make of porcelain, I think you would be entering something on tap. I was just thinking about porcelain puppets this morning. Well, not specifically in general. I was thinking about, well, I was looking at all this sad clips of people talking about Gura retiring and stuff, and somehow I made it to, I don't think it was a clip of Cecilia Immergreen talking about it, but I saw Cecilia Immergreen and I was thinking, hey, maybe if I made a Cecilia Immergreen doll, because she is like an automaton, maybe she could have porcelain skin. And I was thinking about that just this morning, so it's really fun you ask right now. It sounds fun. I have never worked with porcelain before, and I do not have any like a big oven for it to bake, because I think for porcelain you need really high temperatures, right? But it does sound fun. I would like to give it a try, but it might be a little bit far on the horizon for me because it's something I would have to learn from scratch. Trying to open this paint, but it's really stuck in its place.
When I was a young boy, my
Let's see.
father took me into the city.
I'll try adding a little bit more.
Marching band.
Oh, I think I skipped a few comments here. Question, are you interested in making puppets of porcelain? Yes. Cecilia Immergreen, maybe, someday, I don't know. It would be fun. Or maybe, I don't know if there's another VTuber who would fit the porcelain face. Is there another, like a vintage doll VTuber maybe? Yeah, like real human, if you ignore the 10 entire seconds of the lane reaction. Well, yes. Yeah, suddenly getting notification about porcelain doll, that would be crazy. Yes, I think being an VTuber and getting a random notification of having a stop motion doll and animation is pretty crazy. So hopefully someday I get someone noticing it and, I don't know, reacting. That would be very satisfying to see someone react to actually having all of this made. I don't know that clip of Evil crying. I might look it up later. Ugh. There we go. Also something that's kind of tricky with silicone pigmentation is that, well, you have to be very precise with the colors. If you go too far into one end or the other, well, you can't go back, and pretty much all the silicone you have is trash now. So I try to be very careful with how much I use or how much I pigment it. Alright, so this time around we're going for a darker brown, right? She has now more of a... How far do you think it is towards the color of the original clay? Is it this color maybe? And Neuro's new, well, Evil's new hair color? What do you think? I'll leave it here. Sighing at Vito and the clip in Soho where she has vocal fry. I don't... There are a lot of clips I haven't seen of her. I've seen them, I just don't remember or don't recall those. But yeah, I've seen Evil do some weird stuff, and it's really... But what I find out is that specifically Evil. I don't know why Neuro doesn't have, at least that I know, that many really true organic voice moments. Touch of red, you mean to the plasticine or to the... Oh, I mean, I'm not coloring the plasticine, I'm just using it as a reference, but you mean adding a little bit of red to this? I feel like I would hold back with the red a little bit for now because of the purple hint that the brown tends to give. I wanna make sure it doesn't go too red because of that purple tint. I feel like if I added red, it would be a no way back point, but I will apply a little bit more color, and if I reach a point where I say, okay, now a little bit of red will fix it, then I can add that red. I don't want to get the red out of hand, because then all of this silicone will not be very useful. Yeah, brown is very tricky whenever you're mixing colors. That is true whenever you're, well, in painting, but I don't know why. I find it even trickier when working in silicone. I don't know what the magic behind it is, but it's always been very, very tricky for me. Also, there's this point when the silicone is also like too saturated with pigment, so it will start rejecting more paint and it will start sort of like sweating it out, and you don't want to reach that point, because then you also have no return, or you have to add more silicone, and that will, because it's white, it's gonna make the color clearer, not clearer, brighter. I'm going to use this natural shadow color, but trying to be careful not to overdo it and have a thick black paste that doesn't work. Another good trick I do for making sure I'm going in the right direction is just mixing like in the high surface. So yeah, I'll see how it behaves sort of in a small area, and then once I mix it with everything else, it will go back into a little bit of brighter color, but I know where I'm heading if I did decide to add a little bit more of the color I used before. And I think we're getting closer. It's starting to feel dark. It's definitely darker than the last color, but it still has this red tint.
ここからじゃ届かないだからあなたが憎くてしょうがないのどうして針に収まんないかなほらお友達も待ってるよ
So I'll just mix the surface and see what color I'm getting from just that small surface mixture. There you see it. So it seems more or less not as red and more brown. So when I mix it a lot, hey, I'm back. So what part is this now? The hair? Yeah, well, it's not the full hair yet, but I'm mixing the silicone, which I'm gonna be using for all the hair pieces. This is 200 grams of silicone, and I'm just adding color bit by bit until I reach similar color to Evil Neuro's new color. I need to make sort of a lot of it because I'm going to be making a lot of strands, and I also need to recast the twin tails and the hair in front of her forehead.
Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken.
Oh yeah, I think I didn't say it, but for pigmenting of the silicone, I use oil paints most. It works really well mixing with the silicone. The official pigments, or well, like silicone, special silicone pigments also work very good, but brown is peculiar. I don't know why, so I end up liking to use this more. Forbidden jam. Hopefully it becomes forbidden chocolate soon enough. But yeah, out of this, I'm gonna be casting all the other pieces: the hair, twin tails, and many strands. I'm going, I think, at least 20. Yeah, maybe 20 will do. I'll have to take a look with the skull once I finish casting it. I feel like we are sort of close. You know, as I told you, I want to go like baby steps into the color because you don't want to overdo it, but it feels like we are coming close by. Let's hope for the best here. Yeah, now it's looking more like it. Does the color change when it dries out? Not that much. It doesn't change a lot when it dries. It's mostly, it's not the color, but it's the surface and texture that changes. Because right now you see it shiny, right? Because it's very liquid, and the surface tension, it makes this very glossy surface. But in the end result, it's gonna perfectly copy and match the surface of your mold, which in this case will be the plasticine and the ruggedness of the plaster. So it's not gonna be that glossy. And it does feel like a color change sometimes, but it's not really a color change. It's just a texture change that affects how you perceive the color. How much mixing is good mixing? I mean, right now it's only until I get the color properly spread. It's not that I need to mix this for as long as I've been, but I just go bit by bit adding a little bit of color, because if I overdo it, then there's no way back. I can't remove the color from it. It's lead. But I'm not sure what you mean with it's lead, but it's just the base, the color base. I'm not gonna cast this anywhere soon, because you know the plaster mold is still hardening. But this is my base for whenever I cast any color. Then I'm gonna use some a little bit of this, and also, well, when you mix it, you actually add a couple of drops of catalyzer, which I have stored somewhere far away from here, but it's a similar dropper. You add some drops of container similar to this one, and it doesn't take a lot. Around, I think I'll be using around 2 drops probably per hair strand, and then you have some time to mix it. I don't know, around, to mix it you have maybe a minute, and you can, well, it will dry in about 2 to 3 hours. Doesn't really dry, more like vulcanizes plastic itself. Just a little bit more.
I stopped for death. Guess still there's no place for my silicon flesh. Liquor I brewed, can't taste it though. I bet it's something new. Mary Annette's cut down all the strains, rewrite their
Right, so what do you think? Does this look evil Neuro-y enough to you?
We live in a dead cocoon. Tick tock, tick tock. No need to overclock. My wish is locked. Ever dreaming to taste the sweet nectar of morality? Allow my heart to hold enough love to be broken. Maybe I try getting drunk. Finally I cry for help from the top of my simulated lungs. Only your time passes by, and from my eyes the oil leaked. Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why, tell me why.
A little darker. I think I agree. Right, I'll just put a little bit more. It's natural shadow. Go.
La 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 la. A hopeless romantic all my life, surrounded by couples all the time. I guess I should take it as a sign. I'm feeling lonely. Oh, I wish I'd find a lover that could hold me. Now I'm crying in my room, so skeptical of love. But still I wanted more.
The other color I struggled a lot when I was mixing it was her skin tone. Because of the same, it was really hard to get rid of that purple.
All the way he makes me
That purple tone was slightly... Oh yeah, I had to add a lot of different colors to make it not look purple, but then I ended up having a really saturated color that didn't look like her pale skin at all. What did you mix? It looks darker now. Yeah, just a little bit of... So I've been using sienna and natural shadow. How much resin cost? Resin... There's a big spectrum of different resin. So the ones I used, the main one, the one I used for the head, clean my hands a bit. This one is a mix I make by myself, so it ends up being very cheap. I buy like the raw, well, not very raw ingredients, but some basic ingredients, which I add some solvents and some powders to make it thicker. And in the end, it lasts a lot. I can make somewhere around, I don't know, maybe you use different units of measurement than me, but I end up having around 3 kilograms, which is somewhere around, don't put this in your mouth, it's gonna kill you. I end up making around 6 pounds for somewhere around $20 US. It's hard to make those conversions in my mind, you know. But yeah, that's how what the main resin costs. But other resins, for example, the transparent resin for her eyes, that's a bit pricier. That's how much for the more conversions in my mind. It's around $150 for 2 pounds. By the way, this isn't resin, this is silicone. Resin is the hard one. This one. This one. It is a bit pricey, but I use, I think, somewhere around 3 grams for... I use 3 grams for each eye. So if you take that into account, that means I have enough resin for, I don't know, maybe 200 eyes. So, I mean, it is pricey. It's pricey if you want to make, I don't know, one of those fancy split in half tables you see on Instagram. But when you're making tiny eyeballs for anime characters, it lasts a long time. The silicone, that one's a bit more, well, it's not more expensive than the transparent resin. It's more expensive than the $20 resin. This one is... So I make somewhere around 2 pounds for $40, I guess. Yeah, it's a little bit pricier, but you don't use as much silicone as you use resin. Resin is more expendable, more quick, and resin will go bad after some time. I think it won't last you more than a year. It will simply harden by itself. This brand in particular, there are some fancier brands that will last you a long time. They're much more expensive. But yeah, the silicone, somewhere around $40 per kilogram. but it also lasts a lot. I think all of Evil's body has somewhere around 200 grams of material. And it's a big body. It was a bigger puppet than I expected. Well, I wanted to make a big puppet, but I didn't take into account that it would use more material than I expected. Some puppets I made before used, I don't know, 100 grams. This one was double and doesn't really feel twice the size. It's just one of those matters of volume. Do you make it hollow? This one's I don't. I have made some hollow molds. Here the head, it's not that big. It does feel a little bit heavy, but I think it's fine. It's not too heavy. Neuro, sang, lemon, melon, cookie. Oh, yeah, you might be listening to Neuro'S, but I am not listening to it because I had a lot of struggles before setting stream. And if I put it, I would be hearing it on a delay, and it was going to be really hard to concentrate on what the timing was. You will not put this head in your mouth. It will, well, this might not kill you, but you shouldn't anyway. Also, it's too big. I don't know if this can fit its mouth. You can put the other one in your mouth. This one doesn't have any magnets, so less expensive. Doesn't kill you, make you stronger. Not sure if that applies in this line of work. So, alright, what do you think? I think we're okay with this color, but I'm not sure. Yeah. How you see it? I also feel like we're starting to reach the point where the silicone will start rejecting the pigment, so I would like to let it rest. But I feel like it's pretty close to the new color, right? Hopefully it will work. Also, I'm not sure how precise the color is in your camera, the camera you're looking right now, because that's not the final animation camera I use. It's a easier camera to move around place, and it has, well, it's easier to work in the workshop with that one because the animation camera, well, it's more technical. You have to be more careful with it. This, I can just grab it and move it around. It's not been needed yet, but eventually I'm gonna have to grab it and switch it to the other side of the room so you can see where I have the paint or painting section, or maybe the printers. Also, those. Oh, do you have a reference image for the hair color? Or I'm pretty much just guessing because all my devices are split between the stream, and I don't even have my phone here because it interrupts the signal of the microphone. So I'm kind of winging it, and that's why I'm asking you a lot. But I feel like it's pretty close to the color. A reference image or the color, I'm just guessing. Also, does the color change upon drying? It does not change upon drying, but what will happen is that the texture will change. It's not gonna be perfectly smooth and shiny and glossy like this, because it's gonna grab the texture of the mold, so it's gonna be a little bit more matte, and that does give this perception of a different color, but it's actually the same color. Oh, it doesn't change. Oh yeah, someone already commented that. I have a reference pic of people in my phone and I look good. Great! Then I think we are done for today. So that's all I had planned for today, but I will think about what we can do next time. I'm not sure if there's anything else you want me to, I don't know, elaborate upon, talk about before we end stream. We still have some time to chat or something. Are there questions you have around how I made Evil, how the different parts work? I don't know, anything?
Now it's just too late, and we can't go back. I'm sorry, I can't be.
Do you draw the eyes? I'm not sure what you mean with drawing, because it's not really drawing. Alright, I have a couple here. Alright, so the eyes are a lot of different steps, which I will gladly show you right now. Give me 1 second. Here's my box of eyes. Those are all the eyes that failed while I was working on this. I using glass or layered resin. I do use this transparent resin for the eyeballs, but we can see it. Let me zoom in and we can chat about the eyes more in detail. Right, eyes. There's a lot of eyes here. So basically each eye had 2 parts, but I did experiment a lot to get the final result. So there is one eye, which is the 3D model, the eye with a hollow hole, which will represent the inner iris. Yeah, iris. I made this using 3D printing. This is made on a resin printer. This one is not the one I ended up. I think this one is the one I ended up using. You can notice how this one still has the layer lines. Can you see that sheen in it? Those are the layer lines of the printer that I did not sand in this one because I did not like the size. And this is the one I did sand to get a very even finish. So yeah, I have this, right? And this I cast, I made a mold of this one and I cast onto that mold pieces like this one. This is the same old resin of the head. And this then I paint with all the details into something like this. I paint the exterior with white and the interior with red and a tiny spot of black for the iris. And once I have this finished, after all of this, or while I was working on all of this and stuff was drying and I had some spare time, I would make a bigger mold. This one is, can't see anything. This one is very slightly bigger. It's like 1/10 of a millimeter bigger than this one. And this one, I really added a lot of varnish to it so it would stay smooth and shiny and clean and pretty. And I made a mold of this one too. So in the end, you just put this sort of eye with the paint, but doesn't have the final shiny finish, into a mold with transparent resin with this shape that is a couple of fractions of a millimeter bigger, and then you get your final eye, which has this coat of transparent, and you see the shining on the eye and how it perfectly goes out of the darker parts and into white because it's the same surface. This is the reason I started working on Evil. I wanted to make this work and I just needed some character to try it, and Evil turned out to be perfect for it. And yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Please, you will choke on this one. Well, I think you might be able to swallow these ones, but don't. They are really hard to make. I think one of these eyeballs might take a week. Not because it's a lot of work, but because I have to cast one of these, then paint it, then add a little bit of resin. This transparent resin takes around 2 days to dry. And once it's dry, well, I'll put it into this point where it's got just a little bit of resin, enough for it to stay flat. And after this is dry, after 2 days, then I'll put it on the other mold, and then I'll get this. So yeah, every eye takes somewhere around a week to make, just because the resin is very slow. It's the only thing I don't like about this resin, but it ends up looking really good, so it's worth it. Yeah, but it's not active time. UV light curing resin, yeah, there's the resin I use for the printer. This one cures with UV. I know there's another light curing resin for transparent works, but I'm not sure how far down it reacts, because if this is like very deep, I mean, it's not too deep, but in terms of resin it might be a lot. So when I add the UV light, it might not go all the way to the bottom and might stay liquid inside the eye, and then I might have a leak. And if I have a leak inside the full puppet and the leak of resin flows out maybe overnight and it flows into the clothes or something, that would be a complete disaster. So I mean, I might make some tests with UV curing resin that isn't for 3D printing, because you make a fair point there. But I don't mind. I rather have to wait a couple of days and make sure everything goes the right way. Those take a day at most. Maybe with other materials. I need to find different materials that actually help me accelerate the process. But this is what I had at hand. It's all in the materials, honestly. It's all the weighting in here, and also, well, the painting did take me a while. I mean, it's not even a full day's of work, but it does have a lot of steps. So I airbrush the inside and make the color shift from black to red, but then I have the all outer shell being completely, well, either black or red depending on the side, and I have to cover it. Oh, I have, let me see if I have it somewhere around here. Yeah. This, can you see it? Looks, it's very hard to see it in the blue of my glove, but this is a very tiny casting of silicone in the shape of the eye. So once I have the inner eye painted with the red and black, I put this on. I'll put this on and then I'll spray paint the white till I get the other side. And there's a lot of detail into it, like making sure paint doesn't go in. And yeah, that's the whole process for making a couple of eyeballs. Oh, also, if you notice, this one is a little bit black. This one's black because it is magnetic too. So, well, that's why it works with the magnetic head we just made. So, take a look at this. These magnets are not releasing. They're filled with a bunch of sharp needles. All right, there you go. Magic. And this is what holds it together and why I can animate the eye twisting into one side. Well, right now the weight of the base is pulling it down. Yeah, this is how the eyes work, and this is how I make them roll around. Inside and outside of the head. Oop. So yeah, that's pretty much the reason I started with this, because I wanted to test this out and make sure it was possible. But yeah, you make a good point. I'm gonna try to find some of that UV curing resin, and maybe that will help me save a lot of time. Well, that model head throughout. So yeah, that's all my secrets. Now that I think about it, I might be able to use transparent resin for this face of the eye, but I cannot use UV resin here. Magnets from all the broken speakers, but old speakers they don't use neodymium magnets, right? They use the other kind, the black one. And the black magnets, they are really a lot weaker. These ones, neodymium, the silver magnets, are super strong. And even with this being super strong, it barely holds this in place. I mean, if I shake this, it will fall. Maybe there are some speakers that do use this kind of magnets, but I mean, they're not expensive. You can just find them online and buy a pack. This was a pack of around 200, I think. I think it's not the whole pack. I have the rest lying around somewhere. And they're different sizes, different intensities. And it works fine. Yeah, that was my whole experimentation process. And that's why I have 100 little eyes lying around. I might look around those speakers. I really like using stuff reusing stuff that isn't used anymore, so that would be really useful. I can also show you. I'm not gonna open them, but these are the molds of the eyes themselves. So this is the mold of the hollow eye, the one with the hole in the middle. And this one is the one of the very smooth, slightly bigger one. However, this one, the hole was very small. And this one is the last mold I used, from which I cast. It has a bigger holes because I needed to pop the whole eyeball inside and then close it, so I had the full sphere. So those are the 3 molds I used here to have it the full set. Also, another fun thing I realized when casting the eyes is that because it's a sphere, there's a magnifying effect. So when I painted this, I painted it so it seemed around the same size of the iris of Neuro. And once I added the final coat of resin that makes it a sphere, it will make it slightly larger. So this eye, that's why I didn't use this eye in particular, because it's a little bit bigger than it should, I feel like. It feels too wide, the pupil, or the iris. And that was something I didn't know would happen, and I learned while making this. Also, I really like the fact, also because of the fact that it's a sphere, the light enters the eye and makes this very subtle glows. You can see how good the red of the eye looks, even though it's not a lot of light that's hitting it, because it absorbs it and it bounces around itself. And yeah, it gives it a really, really nice touch. Ta-da. Information is so pretty. Yeah. Yeah, it looked nice. But well. So why don't we just leave it here and we continue on next stream and keep on. How big is your hand? Big enough. Let me add a ruler lying around here somewhere. But there's a ruler. So 7.5 inches. Don't know why you ask, but yeah. Oh well, let's leave it here for today. I'm glad you were here. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm gonna be making more streams soon. If you don't manage to catch them live, then you can always watch them again and leave comments there. I'm gonna be reading those too. And yeah, well, thanks for being here. See you soon. I'm looking right now I'm thinking about making a new stream on Saturday. So probably same time. If you're able to log in, then great. If not, you can always watch the video. But I really don't want to hold back streams, because that will slow the process, and I don't want Evil Neuro to be ready in 2028. I want it to be soon enough. So, well, goodbye everyone. Thank you for being here. Hope to see you again soon, and have a great night. Good Friday? What do you mean Good Friday? No, on Saturday. Next Saturday. Or do you mean if I can? I could stream tomorrow, but I'm not sure. All right, then. See you later, guys, and let's see how this starts taking shape. Bye bye.
On the boulevard of broken dreams, where the city sleeps and I'm the only
Clan de la Magia presente.
Por un momento dudé si llegabas. ¡Sí llegué!
¡Uchi! No te quejes, Francisca Imelda. Como mujeres, ese es nuestro deber.
Yo lo que quiero es ser